We got 2024 QB3 to discuss. Michael Penix, Jayden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix. Who knows? But first, we got an intro to hit.
Let's hit it, baby.
Welcome to South Harmon. Welcome to South Harmon. Hey, welcome to South Harmon. We glad you here today. Another AMA. Ask me anything. Super chat is cool if you wanna pay to play. Like and subscribe, that's what we really appreciate. Let me introduce you to the tear down king. Mike McNutty, that's your questions, he'll answer anything. ATM, you know I don't put them graphics on the screen. Glad you tapped in now, stay tapped in for the team. Hey, everything is posted. Go follow the socials. South Harmon FF tag us if we get noticed. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today. Another AMA. Welcome to South Harmon, we glad you here today.
Yes, sir. We are glad you're here today. I'm glad Mike's here today. You know? Listen, man. Listen, I'm not winning all my leagues like Mike is, so I gotta celebrate something, buddy. Holidays, I guess. You know,
we can celebrate
spending more time with family.
Sammy ball game. Sammy ball game. God,
Mike, how do you feel about that, by the way? I hadn't really had a chance to ask you much. You know, like you called that in 2021, I believe, was when you were talking about. I remember vividly on, in a Heisman chat, like saying, "Hey, like I know it's Iowa. I know I'm wearing the jersey right now. I'm from Iowa. I know I'm a homer, but you got to trust me on this one. This kid's really good." And guess what, Mike?
He's good.
In 21, nobody believed you. I did. I didn't believe he was that good. I did tell you. I double-checked the athleticism thing that you said, right? Guess what? Today, if you're a doubter, you're an idiot, buddy. If you're a doubter, you're an idiot today, right?
They wrote me off. I ain't right back.
I think that's the those who laugh loudest, right? I mean,
shout out to Fizzle for his new album, bro.
Listen,
Love
man,
it. Been bumping the shit out of that.
I'll tell you one thing about having only 10 tracks, like with the two albums, Mike, is I'm to the point where I can just sing them, around the house, just to myself, just randomly quote Fizzle, it's just what I do now. I don't know that makes me a good thing, but it's what I do.
That on top of, the last one, just walking around my house, just going, ha, ha. Love it. You got Trip Crown in here already chirping.
Oh yeah, Trip Crown.
Look at
come
this.
on.
Look at this guy.
What did you think was gonna happen, Mike? You thought I started you off with Sammy ball game. I gave you a layup because you know what's out there, buddy. You know there's the pitchfork. You never heard the pitchforks? Oh. They're out there, buddy. Yeah.
He tried to come at me like I didn't call Justin Fields last year, Tua this year. It's all right. It's okay. We just got a short memory, apparently. It's fine. It's fine. Adam out here, he's still adjusting things.
Yeah, I'm
working on putting on socks.
I got puked on, buddy. It was we all have, as if you're a parent, but that one was didn't just catch me off guard. It caught me everywhere, So
at least it wasn't your wife puking on you, so you're good.
Well, yeah, for now. Hopefully that's not next, right?
I'm telling you to take off the jersey, man. Kyle Pitts. What are you gonna do? Jinx him even more?
No, absolutely not. Mike, it's funny because we're talking tight ends. There's a lot of buzz. We're going to get to this 24 class, right? Now, who's not on the thumbnail? Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
No, he's not on the thumbnail,
but the quarterbacks before you get me discussed.
No, we will. We will. I'm just going to give you a quick quote pro to everybody that's going to get over their skis on the young tight ends. Mike's already doing it with McBride. I like McBride by quite a bit, by the way. But I want to remind everybody of Kyle Pitts, this guy that had one of the best tight ends. Sam Laporta might beat him. I really believe that. Whether the yards are there, his season is unbelievable. But Kyle Pitts, we were saying, is the best rookie tight end ever. And just remember that when you go to invest heavily into a tight end. All right, it's hard. That's my one piece of advice today. That's all I got. That's all I got, man.
It's hard. All right. QB3 is 24 class. We know 1 and 2. Caleb Williams, Drake May. Drake May, Caleb Williams.
Yep.
I shouldn't say that too loud. People will lose their mind again.
I was going to say, don't. Mike, come on. Do you want to – are you trying to get us – what are you trying to do to us?
Well, the last one I saw was he's going to be a bust because Mitch Trubisky went to North Carolina. And you saw how that worked out. That was the best analysis I think I've ever heard right there. but QB3, Michael Penix, Jayden Daniels, Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy. I think those are the 4 in contention.
Yeah.
Looks like Jayden Daniels probably the leader in the clubhouse by quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean,
dynamic.
Yeah, right now too. I think
massive rushing floor.
I think that what you just hit on is why, at least right now in mock drafts, and I think is the most likely to go as quarterback 3 in the NFL draft is, Anthony Richardson got hurt, right? But right now you see Jalen Hurts. I think right now teams more so than ever, Mike, are willing to shoot their shot early on this type of a athletic quarterback. Not that
right.
I'm not trying to say Jayden Daniels can't be a very good quarterback, by the way. I'm just saying the upside for him is screaming high, and that's why I think teams are, going to make a decision to probably take him inside the top 10. That's what mock drafts look like. That being said, Mike, we've seen mock drafts shift quite a bit from December. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So let's not, just crown the kid quarterback 3 just yet. And the second thing I think also is, Mike, just because if he was to be drafted as quarterback 3, the reason I kind of posed that question. Now, all signs would point to that because of the rushing floor and high draft capital, right? But just because you're drafted as quarterback 3 in the draft doesn't mean you're the quarterback 3 in the class. Quarterback 3, Mike, now you can have your discussions all you want, but we all know who was quarterback 3 in this class.
Yeah.
So y'all write these people off all you want. All right, laugh over there, You say Drake May and Caleb Williams. Listen, no one's telling you Drake May and Caleb Williams aren't dope. Mike and I are going to talk glowingly about them probably all offseason. But let's not dismiss another quarterback that could go very high in the first round in this class.
Right. I think it's just kind of how we like to draft too. We like to put things in tiers and kind of stay within them, right? You have some preferences within the tier, but you're happy with either. QB3 of this class, it's going to be an interesting one. Jayden Daniels, the leader in the clubhouse for a lot of people. Heisman.
By the way, not to cut you off, but just letting you know, it's out there. All right.
My personal favorite, Michael Penix. I really like him. And he has an incredible opportunity with these nationally televised, everybody watching, college football playoff games against big-time programs. So, you kind of saw the rise. C.J. Stroud was good going in, at this time last year. But when he came out and he played the way he did against Georgia, I think it even opened up even more eyes. Oh, shit.
Yes.
Now,
yes,
there were some things that happened during the pre-draft process where it was S2 scores and some other bullshit that went on that nicked him a little bit.
What was it? What do they call that? Epilepsy, remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. I really do like Penix. He's got an incredible opportunity. He's got a lot of Tua to his game, but with a bigger arm, in my opinion. And it's not just a lefty thing. It's ball placement, accuracy, touch, a lot of things that I don't see from a lot of prospects. You see it from him. J.J. McCarthy would probably be, other than Bo Nix, my least favorite. Runner in the running for QB3.
Yep.
Not because I think he's bad or anything, or the Michigan thing. You watch a lot of Big Ten games and a lot of Michigan games. He's never asked to do much. He never wows you with any real plays. He looks like he's got a decent enough arm. He's decently enough accurate. He's mobile. But you just never really see a big time throw where you go, oh shit! If that wasn't J.J. McCarthy, that's picked off, or they lose this game if they don't have J.J. McCarthy. I don't know. Some scouts love him. For me, I don't see it. And maybe you just need to do more work on it and do a little bit more digging. But right now, if you had to rank it, he's behind Penix and definitely behind Daniels. And then Bo Nix. I don't know. Bo Nix is Bo Nix. He's fine. Some people love him. He's mobile.
Mike, let me ask you this, because I've seen I think the reality for him is the range of outcomes feels pretty wide, in my personal opinion. Now, that doesn't mean shit. That's my opinion, okay? But I've seen plenty of first-round mocks for him right now. Now, again, this is very, very early in the process. We've seen quarterbacks that are being drafted all December, January, February, and then all of a sudden when it's the combine's around, they're not even close to first-round guys. So take it for what you will. But, Mike, if Bo Nix was to get first-round draft capital, I mean, I'm with you. I'm not the biggest on him as a player. I don't think it's a guy that I'm going to say, okay, yeah, Bo Nix to the moon. But, Mike, can I tell you what it kind of feels like for me with Bo Nix if that was to happen? Everything that you just said, I think the community is going to feel. And there's so many receivers that I think he's going to end up being pushed down the board to where, how do I not take a first-round quarterback just because of what that means, right?
Which would be incredible for us in Superflex, right? If there's a possibility, right? 3 feels like a lock. 4 starting to feel more and more like a reasonable certainty. How about that? Like a McCarthy, a Bo Nix, or a Michael Penix, like actually being QB4 and being taken in the first round. Adam, I'll do backflips, buddy. I can't do backflips. Maybe on a trampoline.
Listen, I think you might be able to if that happens, you know.
But 5 QBs in the first round of the NFL draft? With this receiver class that we have too? All these rookie drafts are going to be amazing. Well, they'll be everything we ever wanted.
I think that's what's great about I see the take off the jersey, but I'm starring all the questions for everybody. I see the eggplants coming in. I think that's why 24, though, Mike, for me is what's so nice about it is the way the community is valuing players and assets as a whole. Look at what this class presents without that upside. Like, if you told me right now we know just for sure that there's 3 quarterbacks in the wide receiver group that's in this class, plus you throw in Brock Bowers, which you and I probably don't draft outside of trying to trade bait him, I guess, right? Mike, I'm already in love with the class. To your point, if you give me 4, Mike, frankly, if you give me 4, I'll tell you right now, this class, just from a value standpoint, was getting hype, but it's going to put, from a value standpoint, I think the 23 class a little bit to bed, because when you think about the 23 class, Mike, I'm not talking about how the players shake out and, forward future casting, right? I'm talking about what the values were going into the draft. By the time the draft came around, all this hype that we had was basically like, okay, you get the first 6 picks, great. I'm not saying you won't take someone at the 107 or the 108 or 109 and you couldn't hit somebody, but everybody knew right around there was just a different value in the pick by a pretty significant margin. And that's not the case in this class, man, without 5 quarterbacks, without 4 quarterbacks. Like, that's the case with this class with 3 quarterbacks.
I think if you're a value hunter at the QB position as far as rookie quarterbacks go, you using the process play. It's a rookie first-round NFL quarterback. Ideal situation for you is like a Michael Penix or J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix is QB3 off the board, and they go right around the top 5. Because like that kind of appeal of like that top 5 quarterback with one of those players isn't as sexy to most of the community. Adam, I'm telling you though, if like a Jayden Daniels goes around the top 5, right, 4, 5, 6 in the NFL draft with his dynamic athletic ability to rush the football, coming off of a Heisman, and just like his actual stature, like he's a decently sized quarterback. It isn't like he's Bryce Young out there, right? He's 6'4", 210, 215, and can absolutely move. He goes top 5. Like, you're talking about the 104 in rookie drafts almost universally across the board. Like, done. Your QB value thing goes out the window, and now you're reserved to QB4 and QB5.
Mike, now you know how you and I, while we have our heated debates when we have them, by and large we view things the same. Okay, in a process. So while you and I agree with you there, Mike. If one of these receivers ends up getting, I'm not saying it's correct. I'm just telling you, if one of these receivers is a top 5, 6 pick, I don't know that that's the case. And can I tell you what's interesting about that? and this is to the Bo Nix point. This is to the class, the quarterback, if it was to be deep in the first round in any scenario. Mike, what all offseason? Now, let me just give everybody that's here. Well, if you're here, we're glad you're here today. 1 and 2, if you are new, appreciate you stopping by. Go ahead, hit the like, subscribe. We talk Dynasty all the time. Redraft. We talk right now a little redraft because we're in the playoffs. We're trying to win a league, but outside of that, it's all Dynasty. So the reason I think this is important, Mike, is what did we learn with Warp? Warp wins over replacement player. All last offseason, we're talking about how you got to have the hammer quarterbacks. These are the guys that last year carried teams. What do we see this year? That was a suboptimal way to build, right? Like by and large,
yeah.
If you paid the full iron price for 2 quarterbacks, you better have gotten Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. Otherwise, you did not get what you thought you got, right? And Mike, I think the reason that's so important is at the end of the day at quarterback and super flex leagues, especially in best ball and deeper lineup leagues, you don't have to have, Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying you don't want to have Patrick Mahomes, but you don't need to have him. Like, how many teams do you have that are trotting out in the 19 leagues that you're in right now in the playoffs? You're trotting out quarterback 2s that aren't the sexiest, right? Quarterback 2 to 4 or 5.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see. I think there's a chance that some of these guys are going to get written off as far as where they get drafted, because I think this receiver class is so deep and everybody really feels a lot safer with receivers, even though that's probably a misnomer in of itself too.
This is one of the worst years we've ever seen from the quarterback position as
Correct.
a whole for fantasy. Like people can accuse you of pulling stats for whatever, and Brock Purdy's having a good year at QB4. But 19.7 points even to last year, which was a down year, Adam, we discussed, was like, okay, 22 was bad compared to 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. Like, that was bad. Is this just a one-off? 19.7 fantasy points per game is what he's averaging right now. Last year, the QB4 is up over, almost to 22, right? QB1 and 2 are, 25, 24 point per game scorers. Our QB1 this year, and Josh Allen's right at 22, right? So it's just been a horrible year for the quarterback position. Now, the interesting thing is something we're going to have to figure out in the offseason. I'm sure we'll have a billion discussions. Like, is this a trend now, or is this the outlier? You know what I mean? Like, is this the way we're going? Because if quarterbacks come back in a big way, and you got the stones to be like, yes, I want the hammers. I want all the rookie quarterbacks, right? You're the one who's going to gobble them up, and you get that rebound, just like in the stock market when you buy the dip. Oh, baby, like you're holding on to everything, right? If you're paying, though, yesterday's prices for what the actual production's going to be in the future, if it's like this, then you're going, shit, I really should be looking at a Malik Neighbors type. I should be looking at a Keon Coleman type,
Yep.
I should be investing in these wide receivers because they're outproducing quarterbacks universally across the board in almost every single league. So it'll be an interesting dynamic, one to figure out. But as far as the QB situation here goes, I can tell you Jayden Daniels will be the one who garner the most hype as a QB3 type versus the other guys right now.
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw. I'm going to get to everybody's questions. I've got them all queued up here. Keep putting them in. If you really want a question answered, don't be afraid to super chat it out. Mike, this one here is going to jump the line. It's Koopa. It's actually not why. It's while we're talking about this, it fits the conversation, and then we'll get into everybody's question. AMA, ask us anything. Ask me anything. What do you think of this one, man?
So do I think any of the QB3 potentials will separate themselves where we aren't primarily looking at round 1 versus later draft capital and landing spot? If you say QB3 potentials, right, there's 2 guys in my book that have the potential to separate themselves where it just won't matter. You know what I mean? Like, it just won't matter. The draft capital won't matter, right, as long as it's within the first round. And that is Daniels, and that is Michael Penix, in my opinion.
Okay.
The other 2 guys, no. Like, they don't have a real good opportunity in front of them to do something where you go, wow, right, to really impress. I guess they could have a dynamite pre-draft process, and like you kind of hear about these guys who interview really well, and like teams fall in love with them. The Mac Jones thing with San Francisco when they actually took Trey Lance, but people didn't believe Mac Jones was going to be a first-round quarterback, let alone in the discussion as a top 3 quarterback. And,
sure.
And
being traded up for like they did for Lance, right?
That momentum just kept building and building and building, and and then Trey Lance ended up being the guy and separating himself for everybody. It was like Trey Lance was, the 3rd overall pick. We're done.
One of the things I think that's interesting about Knicks again to me, where like Mike, believe me, you'll have all off season to hear me not the biggest fan of the game of Bo Nix. I don't look at him and say this is a guy that's going to come in and I want to have in fantasy, let alone be a quarterback that's going to make or break, NFL teams. But the one thing I think that is interesting for not just him, but quarterbacks, if they slip but still get first-round draft capital, Mike, is what do we know about the kind of the NFL situation? For the last couple years, they haven't had, teams haven't taken a shot with multiple, really deep numbers of quarterbacks in the first round. So, Mike, like this question here, why it says, well, actually, it's not a question. Bo Nix going to get a loaded roster, late first. He goes to Seattle, Minnesota. Imagine if he's going to either one of those teams, right? That's where I think I'm not going to say the hype will ever put him to your point where he's in a, the elite territory because he doesn't pose that upside, right? But I think it could at least start to get him pushed up the board a little more.
Well, good news for everybody.
Or any quarterback, frankly, that goes late first round. Let me just say that, right?
Great news for everybody. It's the perfect time, I guess, to announce it.
Oh, no.
But when we get to the offseason, right, a couple weeks, we're going to have a weekly show on this channel, live stream. The patrons are going to pick teams, right? They're going to pick teams. And we're going to do a round 1 NFL mock draft on the PFF simulator every single week, and we're going to discuss it. So if you're one of these psychopaths like me who ends up doing 5,000 of these things a year, right, just playing around, drafting for the Eagles. If you're a patron, you got a favorite team, sign up. You make the picks for them. We will discuss almost ad nauseum what the potential first round is going to look like.
Yep.
And hopefully, right, we get one hitter, like one, where we're like, hey, you remember that one we did in February, like the second week of February?
You talking like Max Crosby, the one hitter?
The one hitter. So yes, coming in the off season, a couple weeks. We firing that up.
It's going to be
I have no idea what we're calling
lit.
it yet. But if you got some good ideas, you want to submit them, it's a perfect spot for it.
Drop it in there. Super chat it if you think it's really dope. And I won't rule it out. Mike, our brand is called South Harmon and it was kind of, not really thought it would ever even have a sign behind us.
That's
right?
true.
So I'm down for whatever. All right. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, appreciate everybody tapping in. Let's get into the questions. Fast and furious, Mike. All right. When drafting, if no one will offer you fair value for your pick, how do you handle reaching for a position of need versus just taking the best player available? Does this change with format? I think the answer to the last question, it can a little bit. But by and large, we have a universal answer for this. Mike, you can go ahead. I know what we were going to say. So
Draft for value, trade for need.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yep.
Ideally I want to move picks when they're at the most valuable, but a lot of people don't want to pay that price, or they know what the gig is and they don't want to pay it at the time. But rookie hype gets everybody at some point. The most staunch people that I've seen that will never buy into rookie hype, you talk about rookies for 7 straight months with no actual real football on the table, they get rookie fever too. They get rookie fever too. It happens. So I draft for value and then I trade for need later. It just may not be right now. You got to have a little patience.
And, okay, so here's the thing about this question, right? If you think about, just think about the way that currently, Ethan, some of your prior drafts have gone. I imagine when you ask me a question like this, you're kind of, foreshadowing based on information you've seen in the past with your league mates, right? Now, going into most of these prior rookie drafts, I don't think the community as a whole, Mike, has been quite as decided as it feels like they are today with the way that players are valued, right? And positions, when I say that, positions in particular, right? So this class doesn't really pose high-end running backs. The top running back in the class for the longest time that we thought was going to be the next, big deal isn't even coming out. And he wasn't doing shit at Ohio State anyway. So what do we have? I mean, this class in particular, you have a ton of receivers. You have 2 quarterbacks that right now, if you put Mike them in the last 2 years of classes, they're in the conversation, if not ahead of all of them.
Right.
Definitely 22. I mean, last year, I'd still probably say they are. So, point is, you have some very, very alluring prospects in this class, right? In the position. So, even though I get what you're saying here, I think that this class on the clock might look a little different than in years past, first and foremost. Secondly, when you get to the change format thing, when I talk about all that, what do we know? With quarterbacks and receivers. Now, do I want to have a deep receiver room? Do I want to have good receivers in Dynasty? Yes. But what do we know in Superflex leagues in particular is going to get you in trouble? Not having quarterbacks. And that's typically where you'll see people reach for a position of need. Typically, right? Most people aren't drafting a receiver versus some other player because they like, man, like if I have one receiver, you know, now if it's Marvin Harrison Jr., fine, but one of these rookie receivers is not going to make or break your team. So quarterback is typically the one you're going to be trying to reach for, and that's just a scarcity thing. The reality for us is that we're going to draft, I think, almost every time, unless it's a specific league, specific situation where I think I can basically move the player or the pick that I'm use later for more. I'm drafting for value. So I'll figure out how to make my roster construction later on. I can do that with trading at any point. So for now in drafts, if you can't move your pick, I think you just take what you believe is the best player available, go with your gut.
Yeah. And specifically, too, like a lot of people are like, well, I need this and I need that. Relying on rookie production is always a bad bet, too. Like it is. It's so hit or miss. For every time you hit on a CJ Stroud, you also get a Bryce Young, right? Like every time you hit on Jordan Addison producing for you, you get a Quentin Johnston. Like this happens all the time. So don't ever really rely on rookie production. It's nice. It's a good bonus when you get it. I think about the only rookies that you're going to rely on production are going to be running backs. And generally, even those guys, like they take some while. The people are panicked on Jahmyr Gibbs by, week 5?
Mm-hmm.
Like losing their minds. It was over. We're done. I'm sending them away. Any first, take them. And here we are, last 5 weeks, top 4 running back in most leagues.
Mike, if he finishes the fantasy playoffs the way he's been looking, which I don't really expect him not to, and finishes the year strong like this, mark my words, we're going to have a running back 1 conversation a lot in the offseason.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be
I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't tell you that, it's just the position and Dan Campbell at one point. I'm not going to lie. I did.
You're not going to front and cap and say that you didn't trade him to me for a single first?
No. Did I actually? I can't remember if I did. I know I said it, and Mike, like what he likes to do is he likes to bait you on air. So he got me there.
I bait you on air, and then I send the deal, and then make you accept.
There's sauce involved. That's where it starts, and then I won't do it. Watch me. Yep.
Got it.
We've gotten each other that way, but unfortunately, that one's a no. What I was going to say, though, is that this next question, Mike, where in rookie drafts would you rank Bowers in a 2 tight end format? We kind of started with this. That's why I'm wearing the pits. I'm going to be talking about it all offseason, man. This tight end euphoria, Fugazi. Okay, you hit Sam Laporta. All right, so Sam Laporta's here. You didn't expect him to be this. I know nobody did. We've kind of went over this. The rise to the top for Sam Laporta has been a long one that eventually you have no choice but to believe now.
Right.
A lot of the guys that you draft really, really high. Shit. Look, TJ Hawkinson, Mike, let's talk about him, right? He's in the mix in the tight end, 2, 3, 1 discussion, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been a very great prospect all along. We've always seen this ability from him, but you had to get through some years in Minnesota before he got to Minnesota, before, how many times are people thinking, let me just get off of TJ Hawkinson, man. I've been waiting for this for a while, right? It's how the tight end position goes typically. You're not always going to get Sam Laporta, even though Brock Bowers is incredibly talented. So 106 behind the usual 3 quarterbacks, 2 receivers, Mike, in a 2 tight end format.
Well, sometimes you get Dalton Kincaid, right? The tight end 1 of this class. Everybody losing their mind over him.
Remember Michael Mayer was the tight end 1, universally?
You before Kincaid, right?
Yeah, before Kincaid became cool, right?
And now Mayer's just kind of an afterthought for a lot of people. I don't know, like 106, 107 feels good. The tough part about him, even in like a 2 tight end, like unless it's something like ridiculous for the premium, like we got some guys who like playing 2.75 tight end premium, like something stupid like that. You know, some of these crazy leagues.
Ridley Truth, or where you at? Stand up.
Right. Most of these tight ends just really don't matter. Like Sam Laporta has mattered and has like won a week or two for you. And if you look at Warp, most leagues he might be hovering around like top 12. But the rest of them, they don't. They're highly replaceable. You can just kind of move on with your life. Even Travis Kelce's been replaceable this year, and that was like the tight end god for the last couple of years. I think what my plan is right now with Bowers, and this is, we're talking about this in December, so it's subject to change. But with the hype already around Brock Bowers coming out, you might see me take Brock Bowers at 104 in a lot of leagues, but it's not because I'm taking it for need.
Ooh,
I'm taking it to trade.
Now, I know I already kind of hit that, but the one thing I heard you say, which I was not expecting to hear you say, is a lot of leagues.
Could be. The
really?
fervor around Brock Bowers is already at a ridiculous pitch, and it's further bolstered by the fact Trey McBride is hitting. Sam Laporta is smashing, right? Like, people are in love with tight ends. David Njoku might be a league winner here for you in the fantasy playoffs. So far, so good through 1 week, right? This week also looks good with Joe Flacco at the helm.
Mm-hmm.
If we bring the sexiness back to the tight end position, perfect time for me to take him at 104 and then flip him to somebody else.
Mike's bringing sexy back to the tight end position, huh? Man, this is a guy. Can I tell you the only slight problem with your plan? I'm not saying you can't. I've seen you do it. Okay, just food for thought. People. There's pitchforks out there. They know you as the Brock Purdy hater, and they know you as the tight end hater. So just be careful with how much exposure you get, because they might know that this is the guy that is pretty staunch against tight ends. But Brock Bowers, Mike, absolutely has the fervor right now. So it'll be interesting to see. I personally, like, I'm looking at Warp right now, Mike. We ran this shout out to Mind Warp series we did in the offseason. So if you go and you take a look at the Mind Warp in the Warp tool, if you go to the 12 by 11 by 30, all lineup. So what that means is it's a tight end premium and it's a 2 tight end league. So we went league by league. We started basic and made it more complicated. So this one is a full tight end premium and it's a 2 tight end league, Mike. And here is where the tight ends actually are in the conversation Warp-wise. Like, those top 6 picks or top 6, 7 tight ends, they're like, right there. They're hovering with the line of everybody else. So, Michael, I guess if you have a 2 tight end league with a heavy tight end premium, when I say that, I'm probably talking over 0.75. Now, 0.75 is where Mike and I will say that we distinguish that's what matters. But like heavy tight end premium, you got to get to at least a full point for me. So if it's something like that, I don't even think he makes it to 106, and yes, I would take him there because the value for him is going to be there, 1, with the trade market, but 2, if you couldn't actually get off of him for a little bit, you could wait for a pop week, and there's obviously more upside for the tight end in a league like that. But here's what I found, Mike. Most leagues we play in, most leagues I see people playing, don't have a tight end line that looks anywhere like that in Warp. So I just would be cautious about doing it if you don't plan to move him is my biggest thing. Like, that's the biggest thing I can say about it.
Your Warp analysis is correct on him, though, right? And if you look at points per game, so last year you had just a handful of tight ends who could break 10 fantasy points per game for the season.
Yeah.
Adam, this year you're at 11.
Yep.
11. And none of them are close to. Travis Kelce was damn near at 20 points just in standard scoring, not even tight end premium leagues. Just in like, he was a god. A god. Like, he was up there with the quarterbacks. If you go look at Warp charts, none of these tight ends, even Sam Laporta, is up there. Right? Travis Kelce is the number 1 scoring tight end in the league on a points per game average.
What up,
15
Kevin?
points.
What up, Dynasty Daddy?
16 points. Like, it's so much less now, and you have so many more scoring in that range where it dilutes it. But On the contrary, on the flip side, everybody sees these tight ends scoring, and they get all excited for them like they actually matter again. They actually matter less when you don't have that separation, right? You don't have one dude at 20, everybody else is hovering at like 13, 14. If you got a bunch of dudes in that 15 to 10 range, they matter even less. It's contrary. Fuck it. I've had too much vodka already. I forget the word.
Come on, man. Whatever you try to make this word, I'm so excited. I can't. I know what you mean. I'll save you. I just think that this part of the problem with this is going to be that I'll tell you guys. I'll tell everybody watching the show, anybody that watches anything we do, any conversation we ever have. Brock Bowers is the truth. Brock Bowers is legit. I believe in him as a prospect. I believe in all the talent.
For sure.
But this is about fantasy leagues and dynasty leagues. And, Mike, between helping people in league formats that I'm not in, between playing in a lot of formats, granted, most of them are best ball in some degree, I have seen a lot of different leagues, Mike. And I'm telling everybody, this is not a Brock Bowers specific conversation. This is a position reality. And that's the problem. So if you can move them, if you can move that big hype name, and you're in a league that is really valuing tight ends, totally understand it. Outside of that, I'm probably just going to see if I can trade out of the pick, trade back for something small, little plus, because I would not have taken them there anyway. All right. Let's get to it, man. We got questions in here. Oh, here you go, Mike. Here you go. Let's go, man. I'm in a 10-team. I'm in a new startup right now. 0.75 tight end premium, 10-team. Best ball, start 11. I took Kyler, 3.7, Diggs, 6.6, Evans, 9.7, and Derrick Henry, 12.6. Is my league crazy, or is there real offseason? Is this their real offseason value?
It's going to get worse for most of them. Maybe not Kyler, but Diggs, Evans, Derrick Henry, all going down.
Yeah, Diggs, I could see at least Diggs, though. It's like 6. Mike, think about this, though. Right, that's 10 teams, so that's really like a 5th round value. So, listen, here's the truth about especially Diggs, Evans, and Henry, okay? When you do an offseason draft right now, which, I mean, I think we've done drafts any time of the year, right? Right now, because of the reality of us all looking at who's scoring points, and Derrick Henry's not even doing that last week, but you get a lot more of the contender type pieces, older ones that are getting drafted when you get down the list, right? When we get to, especially right around Senior Bowl and Combine and NFL Draft, those startups, watch how far Derrick Henry falls. Watch. Mike Evans in a 10-team at 9.7 still, like, I'll say this. These feel fine, but is your league crazy? Probably not. Is this the real offseason value? Probably, at least. Like, it could get worse.
That's why I said it's going to get worse for every one of them but Kyler.
Yeah, the only thing is, right, just remember that if you basically, when you make these picks, the one thing, Adam, that I can say for sure is you now have essentially sunk your teeth into, not necessarily Kyler, but Diggs, Evans, and Derrick Henry are going to be non-movable pieces for you in the offseason, right? Because their value is going to be going down. So you basically are holding that startup pick until at least the redrafters come back around, which is going to be a long time from now. So I guess that's the way it's just the way age works in the offseason, man.
Yep. People hate him, right? Diggs, like you talked about it. We still like Diggs, but the fact remains he'll be a 30-year-old wide receiver who currently is in the stretch of being terrible. I think he's like, over the last 5 weeks, Adam, he might be wide receiver 44,
Mike,
43 in the range. Eric and I were talking about him today on America's Game because we were going through the games for this weekend, right? It's semifinal weekend. We were talking about who would start and, kind of where you'd rank them on the list of playing them. And he said, we got to the Bills game, and he goes, Diggs, auto start. And I was like, I don't know if that's an auto start anymore, buddy. This dude's been bad.
Right? Well, he's a name cachet auto start, right? Like, sitting Diggs is probably going to be tough for you to do. But to your point, yeah. Now, I think one of the things with Diggs that was discussed in the offseason, and unless the Bills do make this big push and this big run and Diggs is a part of it, and they maybe make some buzz in the playoffs or something. Because if it goes the other way, Mike, you know what a lot of the offseason buzz is going to be.
Yeah.
Diggs ain't happy. He wants to get out of there. Free Diggs. Where's he going to play? Who's his quarterback going to be? You know what all that stuff does? Puckers people's asshole, buddy. It makes them a little uneasy.
Look what we did with Lamar this offseason. Look what we did with Kamara. We did. With
oh my gosh, Mike! I bought Lamar in a lineup start 9 league. Now, oddly enough, I ended up scoring most points for and just lost. So, R.I.P. I guess it meant fucking nothing. But it was Breece Hall in like the 104 in the last year's class for Lamar and Ayuk.
Money.
And that was before he got the contract, right? So you're like, wait, what? Mm-hmm. Right? Like you're like, wait, what? How?
People really thought he wasn't playing this year.
Well, people thought there was a scenario where exactly. Like people were almost decided that he wasn't going to play some of this year, and then maybe he misses a whole year. All right. Outside of the top 3 QBs, you woofed T-Law. Oh yeah, absolutely. There was plenty of misses at the quarterback position, man. Plenty of misses this year.
Yep.
And Brock Purdy's a top 4 quarterback, to give you an idea of how bad, without going too far down that lane. That's how bad the quarterback landscape has been as a whole. Like, Dak's been great down the stretch, right? Except last game, but only been a handful of difference makers this year. If I'm getting Bo Nix 108 throwing to JJ, I'll have him in every league then. Yeah, I mean, I can't blame. Listen, I'm out here defending it. I can't get mad at you. Okay.
Yep.
How is oh wait, actually, sorry. Hold on. I'll get to you, Daniel. I promise. What do you do when you have so many mid assets, Flowers, Jacobs, JT, London, etc., but just can't tier up without a huge overpay? Do you still overpay? 10 team start 11 PPR. This is Mike. This is a issue we don't have in 10 teams because we don't play in 10 teams. But the truth is though, like this is like in a lineup start 9 kind of.
Yep.
It's the same type of market. Now, listen, when we talk about best ball, there's so many different reasons the more I play, Mike, that I really do like best ball better. And the reality is it gives players more value in Dynasty down the road, right? You care more about the second round picks. You care a lot more about those later picks. And it gives value to players that otherwise in shallow formats are cast-offs. And 99 times out of 100, that's the right play because they're probably not going to become a fucking hammer. So this is the reality of this type of a league, right? The market is going to dictate. Everybody wants to tier up, and everyone doesn't want to take on your mids. That's like what this market's going to be driven to do. So there's also a reality trip, Crown, where you have to, with certain ones of these, make your decision. I mean, JT and Jacobs, that's not a discussion of tiering up at all. Like they don't have value, man. Like those are holds, period. Unless you're completely going to rebuild this thing. Like,
right.
Running backs don't really do much for you in the market of trading anymore. So now with Flowers and London types, eventually you got to make a decision, right? And if no one's going to value them, you got to hold them and hope that Drake London gets a quarterback. But Flowers, I think, in 10-team start 11 still can be a difference maker. I'm perfectly fine waiting on him. I still believe Drake London can be that. It's just we want Arthur Smith gone, also rocking Atlanta, right? That's my Christmas wish, Mike. Can we get Arthur Smith out of here?
Please.
And can we get a quarterback in there? Because, Mike, then all of a sudden I would really like those guys. No, there's nothing. Here's the thing. You're saying you can't overpay, but do you still overpay? Like, what kind of egregiousness are we talking about here? Is I think the other thing.
Well, the other thing too, Adam, like you got to think about it. We talked about this year was a bad year for quarterback. But just thinking in a 10-team start 11 PBR, right? Like you want hammers because it's a 10-team, right? You need hammers. You need those dudes. How many of the guys we projected as hammers that you'd overpay for
See you, Kevin. Appreciate you stopping in.
Not very many.
Right. No, for sure. With you.
Total for the year, right? Like Christian McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Josh Allen. But number 5, Keenan Allen. Who the fuck was overpaying for Keenan Allen? Nobody. right? Nobody. Dak Prescott. Like in a 10-team Superflex league, Dak Prescott was a back-end QB1 who's like 12, 13 going in the offseason. You go, I don't give a shit. Right?
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's up there. Raheem Mostert, Kyron Williams. Those are your top 10 total in WARP for this kind of league.
Wait till Mike, don't give everything away. I've got a recap show coming with some nice little gems, all right? Be interesting one.
Alvin Kamara, 13th, and he missed the first 3 games, for fuck's sake. These are the hammers. Like, sometimes these mids end up being the hammers, at least for 1 year, right? So, I mean, if you really got to overpay, like, go for it, right? Like, if you feel better, if you can get yourself a Chase or a Jefferson, you can get yourself into a Bijan, or if you can get a Jalen Hurts or a Josh Allen, like go for it if that makes you feel better. But a lot of this time, man, like if this is the market, I'm just gonna overwhelm you with the fact that I got more shots at finding the fucking Keenan Allens and Kyron Williams and like these kind of dudes who do it than anybody else. You know what I mean?
I swear when I try to get us through questions, I just go back to we're gonna go a deep dive on this. Keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off. I have a really good point to make too now. I got to pull it back up.
All right, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, okay, where is this 10 team? Goodness, we got. You know how many 10 teams we got in here? Why are you guys getting into new 10 team startups? By the way, I love every one of y'all here. By the way, I'll answer your questions. We got like 200 and some friends you could play with. Come on, man. Let's go get a 12 team. Come on. We'll answer your 10 teams.
South Harmon, man.
But
I'm sure you can find 12 people to put together.
But here, Trip Crown, can I give you the true answer to this question? Okay, so obviously Mike said it. Dude, you know what? You're not getting a 10 team, Mike, because the quarterback scarcity doesn't exist. I'm not saying you can't have a high value for Josh Allen, but the skill players come a lot closer and a lot of times past quarterbacks in the market value, right? So you're talking about a shallow league, 10 team. No one, dude. You know what it's going to cost to get Bijan, Jamar Chase, Jefferson? More than whatever you have on your dynasty team. It's going to cost you some form of your soul. You know, you're going to have to give up a child. Mike's going to have to. You're going to have to sleep in the shit house with Mike, something like that, right? The 10 team thing is not as much of the discussion though about your question with all these players. What is every single one of these players right now? They're mid, but there's a big key about this.
I was waiting for the answer.
None of them are trending the right way, really. None of them are trending up. You know what you have to do in a league like this? You got to get really uncomfortable when flowers popped, right? You got to sell when they're hot. You got to sell when they're hot. In a market like this, you're never going to sell Drake London, after multiple years of not being a difference maker in this format. That's not how you're going to get trades done in a league like a market like this. You're going to have to try to get off of players when you don't want to, right? When you think you might have found your next hammer, that's when you bring that person to the table and you can get a real hammer type deal done. But you're not going to, in a market like this, trade off of assets that are mid and also aren't like popping, trending up, right? Like Tank Dell, when Tank Dell was surging in a league like this, you can exploit stuff like that. But assets that are middle of the road and probably all trending down to a degree, you're not going to be able to sell them for a lot.
It's crazy, like a Breece Hall type right now. If you think about that, Adam. He is trending towards his lowest dynasty value he's ever been at.
I don't even think it's trending. He's already probably there. He's going to continue to go lower. Yeah, I'm with you.
By old Keep Trade Cut Score, he's got another 600 points to go, but then he'll be the lowest. And when he was back at 5,200, Adam, he wasn't even in the league yet officially. Hadn't been drafted yet.
And this is a guy that sat out a whole year, right, with the injury. Well, not a whole year, but a lot of the year last year. So.
Yeah, majority of it. Crazy.
All right.
Crazy to think.
How is no one talking about Penix Jr.'s throwing motion? I know nothing about actual football except his arm slot looks weird different.
Oh, he's just got a 3/4.
Yeah, the delivery is a three-quarter approach.
which I don't know if you can demonstrate it, right? Most of them are straight overhead, right? And that's traditional. His arm slot is just off, just to the bit. There's a few quarterbacks, like Justin Herbert's got a pretty pronounced 3/4 motion.
Well, Justin Herbert, and what was been talked about because of that. It's interesting you bring that up. For a 6'6", like, stallion, has a decent amount of balls batted at the line. It's because of that 3/4 delivery. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Some guys, it's kind of like pitchers too. Like you'll notice it in baseball. Some guys have different types of delivery, at least where the release point is.
Yep.
You know, some of them are overhand. That thankfully no quarterbacks have that. That submarine pitcher. You remember that shit?
Well, you know who has a jack of all trades delivery. Matty Stafford. You'll see this guy just randomly hit the submarine because there's a window to get the ball into sometimes, right?
Go look at Penix delivery and like Lamar Jackson. They're pretty kind of similar. They both have a real good pronounced 3/4 delivery.
Can I tell you?
Looks a little bit off to you.
Can I tell you that's probably not gonna get a lot of people fired up? Is like I'm very in on Lamar, but what's the biggest question for people? Even still after this year, right? I don't think he can throw.
Hey man, some of the best quarterbacks in history have had 3/4 delivery. So
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying Lamar in general is like he's a controversial. You don't have to be sorry.
But I just mean like a well-known player right now. If you want to go look at throwing motions, and then the guys like Mahomes and Stafford, like these dudes they throw from all different arm slots and arm angles. Like that's kind of become the trend. But
yeah,
I think it's probably why Penix looks a little bit different is because it's not a traditional overhand. It's a 3/4.
Yes, and. I think the thing is too, like to his point here, the way he throws it's somehow it's more pronounced a little bit, and so you notice it more than just a standard 3/4 delivery.
I think what it is it looks more pronounced because he's left-handed. Like if you watch any left-handed quarterback, no matter how normal their delivery is,
there it is.
The fact they're left-handed throws you off already, and you go, "What? Wait, something's weird."
I should have went to that because actually, Mike, what I was gonna say, it's funny you brought that up because imagine had Tua had that type of a delivery, people be going crazy, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's the lefty thing. Yep. All right,
lefties
with Travion Henderson maybe coming back, and I think that's. Not even a maybe, right? It's a pretty much done deal.
Well, I don't know. The last thing I saw from Travion was his own post being like, I haven't ever made up a decision. Whoever linked this shit's an idiot. Like, essentially saying that.
So you know what that says, though? You know what he said there?
Just cover it up.
No, he didn't say, I'm coming out. I'm going to be in the draft. You're an idiot. Okay, well, tell us we're an idiot and say you're going to the draft. I'm not. These kids get all like, bent out of shape on social media. They're young, man. Confirm you're in the draft then. If we're all such idiots, why haven't you said you're in the draft?
That's true.
Right? Like, you have a really easy way to nuke that and then say you're an idiot, right?
Yeah. I'm officially declaring for the NFL draft. You guys are all idiots. Because
you know who the last great running back from Ohio State that had a lot of tizzies on socials? JK, remember the all the injury stuff?
I almost missed those.
When he was going crazy at social media, when someone was saying he wasn't going to be able to play for the start of the year.
Yeah, I must have missed that one.
Okay, wow.
You're the Ohio State fan. I must have missed it though. Like I didn't.
Are you being serious? I thought you were being facetious. You didn't remember that?
I'm being fucking serious. I don't remember that at all.
What's his name?
Over my head.
What's the? I forget who the guy is now. The guy's not irrelevant. JK was getting crazy on him. Pull up the receipts, fantasy receipts. All right, question: if you have Allen and Hurts in Superflex in the 101 and the 104, would you take Caleb or May plus Neighbors or Harrison?
I didn't even see what the other part of the first question was.
Sorry. My apologies. Yeah, you're right. I just totally. Matt, I apologize. We talked about Travion Henderson and didn't even read the question. And Jeremiah Smith changing to Ohio State and no QB there right now. Are we still as confident Caleb not ending up there?
Yes.
I am. I don't.
Yeah. I would bet a significant amount of money on Caleb Williams coming out in this draft class.
So, all right. I think right now there's this is actually something I think that we should talk about real quick, Mike, since the question's up here. By the way, Matt, this is I'm glad this is a good talking point. Sorry, I was going to completely that was not necessarily uncharacteristic, just really dumb of me to do. Right now there's this debate, and there's a lot of this spicy talk about guys are going to stay back at school. You know, Shadur Sanders, TreVeyon Henderson, right? Come find me. I want people, like, realistically, I want you to really think about this, though. Why would TreVeyon Henderson go back to school? Because there's NIL money. It's Ohio State. And he is not necessarily probably locked in himself to a draft slot that he once was going to be likely touted to, right?
No, he's a second, third round pick.
Maybe, right? Like, he probably would be. But, like, what happens at a running back if he slips past that round 3? All of a sudden, your entire career could go to nothing if you don't get the right opportunity, right?
Right.
So why would you not just go back, try to pad your stats, prove that you're still this TreVeyon Henderson, and then go back while you can get paid at a position where if you don't get drafted early, you're not going to get paid in the NFL and you have a short shelf life. So
he's going to get $1 million or $2 million from NIL money.
Yes.
For going back to Ohio State.
You know what Ohio State does with $1 million or $2 million?
Which is more than what he would have gotten paid going to the NFL as a third-round pick.
Correct. And Shadur Sanders right now, I think.
And he has the possibility of boosting his draft stock to maybe now he's a second-round pick, or maybe he's a back-end first if he
Zach Charbonnet style.
There you go.
Shadur Sanders, right? Yeah. He's getting a lot of NIL money and probably has been, talked quite a bit and not a lock for first-round draft capital. He's getting told, so.
Correct.
Why not give myself a chance to go back and do that? I want you to come find me, and please do this. Please come find me. Talk your shit, too. I want you to come talk your shit when Marvin Harrison types go back to school. When Caleb Williams goes back to school. When these guys that are like locks for top 5, so they're not just going to get the bag, which you could possibly get in college, but you're going to get, a very good contract for 4 or 5 years. You're going to be a top 10 selection. Like, everything is going right for you to go live your dream in the NFL. They're not walking away from that. The guys that are coming back to school, make sure you are not missing the fact that it's not like they're walking away from the promised land. Right? Like, there's a big difference, I think, in what people are like viewing as guys that are coming back because they're names that we've cared about in Devy that have not panned out versus guys that are going to get top 10 draft capital guaranteed.
Right. It's also this there's kind of this misnomer going around about NIL. Like, well, you can make just as much as an NIL as you can in an NFL contract. Yeah, if you're a third-round pick. If you're Brock Purdy, 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant, sure. NIL money's a lot more. Well, but somebody was trying to tell me that, well, Marvin Harrison Jr. could make just as much in NIL money as he can if he goes to the NFL draft. So you're telling me he's going to make $25 million in year 1 from an NIL deal?
I mean,
show me that fucking thing because Patrick Mahomes don't even have a $25 million one-person endorsement deal.
The thing is, though,
he's the face of the fucking NFL.
Now, but here is the thing, right? The reality is, I do believe, like Ohio State, for example, right? These schools that have been preying on kids making, I shouldn't say preying, but they have been making a ton of money on them.
They've been preying on kids. You can say it.
Yeah, no, it's
a predatory system.
It's a very controversial thing, but I didn't want to go down that road. But the point is, these colleges have tons and tons and tons of money. The boosters at the big schools, Mike. Now I know you just made a big dollar claim, but understand that Ohio State, if they wanted to, absolutely comes up with $25 million and gives it to Marvin Harrison Jr. And the reality is, if they want to even have a chance to even be at the discussion that Marvin Harrison still says no to, they're going to have to come with that type of money, right? But here's the thing. Why? Okay, if the money's the same, why would you not go to the NFL, get top 3 draft capital, get a chance to get more money in endorsements? Look at what Justin Jefferson's doing. Look at, you know what I mean? Like there's the opportunity for so much more success in the NFL. What's Marvin Harrison going to do going back to school but possibly fuck up his draft stock with an injury? He's not going to go higher.
I think that's also kind of a misnomer, right? There may be a lot of rich people at Ohio State, but you're not parting with $25 million. Period.
Oh, Mike, Trust me, Mike. Do you know how much they're paying coaches that aren't coaching for them? The coaches in basketball that aren't even good?
Different. It's different.
Why?
Arch Manning was one of the most hyped and ballyhooed prospects we've ever seen.
Yes, he was.
The greatest bloodlines for a quarterback we have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting $3 million.
From Texas?
Yes.
Right. But again, Mike, understand that. Like, I'm not
saying $3 million ain't a lot, but $25 million is an astronomical fuck ton of money that they will not give to one person.
Here's where, though, this is the difference. It's the wild, wild west, and someone is going to. If someone ever does make this happen, if it ever happens, that's you're going to have to come over the top, and there is no market on this yet. Everyone's feeling it out. The reality is, any type of money they're giving to a young kid who can't go to the league is huge money in that regard because it's never been done before, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you're going to get a kid to stay that already has everything waiting for him in the NFL, you got to give him what he's going to make in the NFL at least, and probably give him some reasons that it makes sense for him to stay. Because why? Tell me why it would make sense for Marvin Harrison to stay unless he cared about breaking records in college or something, or winning a national title, which I got news for you, man. A lot of these kids don't give a shit about anymore. I'm not saying they don't want to win, but they're not like, oh my God, if I don't win a national title, I'm screwed. They want to go to the league. They all want to go to the league.
The difference a little bit with him, like where it kind of makes sense. Marv is the only one. Caleb never made sense to me because you're talking about a guy who's going to be the number 1, number 2, number 3 pick at worst, and at quarterback in the NFL, where USC would never be able to give him that amount of money. Nobody in college football would be able to give him the amount of money he was going to make from that contract. Marv is the only one that kind of made sense, where if he was like, I got a $5 million NIL deal for just this year, I really want to beat Michigan, I really want to do this, yada, yada, yada. I really want to win a national championship. Marv came from money. Like, Marv grew up with money. His dad is an all-pro wide receiver, a fucking Hall of Famer. His family has had money. Not like, like I know some rich people who are doctors. Like, this guy is different, right? There's Dr. Rich, in Iowa, making a few $100,000 a year. And then there's your dad's an all-pro fucking NFL wide receiver catching passes from Peyton Manning, Hall of Famer, endorsement deal, rich.
Right.
That's where Marv's coming from.
Right, but that's exactly why I think, Mike, though, I don't disagree to the point you're making that it's not about money for him as it is for a lot of – it's not as much about money. A lot of it's about money for even players that have money. The reality is for him, it's the same as his dad. It's about legacy, and legacy is not really – there's nothing back for him at Ohio State for his legacy, man.
Well, that's all. I say all that to say that Marv ain't coming back. Caleb ain't coming back. Drake May ain't coming back. Mm-hmm. If there's anybody to go back to school, it's going to be probably at the running back position, which we see almost every single year, even before NIL. Right? There's running backs who need to go back and work on it. Or it's going to be these guys like Shedeur Sanders who are fringe, possibly NFL quarterback, round 1 quarterbacks in the draft, who get told that there's a good possibility you could be a 3rd-round pick, right? 25's a weak class. I'm going to go back, work on my NFL draft stock. Lo and behold, I may be the number 1 pick next year.
Sure. Yeah.
That's why, like, a Shedeur Sanders goes back. That's not why Marvin Harrison, like somebody who's locked into top 5 draft selection, goes back. They don't go back for that.
Without going down a lot of rabbit holes that can absolutely happen with a conversation like this. That's the crux of it. You're not. I'll have a very real discussion, Mike. We could have a whole show. We could do whatever. When the day happens that a guy leaves a top 10 draft pick to go back to school for NIL money, and I know that everyone wants to talk about that it's going to be a quarterback says, oh, I really hate going to this team, I'm not going to do it. Well, they'll end up, their agent's going to talk so much shit, they're going to end up getting that pick traded somehow, some way. They're going to still go to the NFL, I believe, for a little while. All right. Someone's saying here that he already man, my bad, I almost banned. I hit add and I accidentally hit the ban. Don't worry, I didn't ban you, Brian, but I clicked the wrong button here.
You're close.
I would bring you back. Already traded Brock Bowers for my own rookie 101. Definitely wouldn't ban you for this. Devy, round 4. Tank Dell. Heavily depleted rookie draft, but give Dell straight up. 1 tight end, no premium. People are stupid over Bowers. So.
Oh, Brock Bowers or Tank Dell? Even with Tank Dell injured, I think I'd rather have Tank Dell. And just give me all the other shit on top.
Look at what this is. I mean, I know it's a heavily depleted draft, but it's still the top pick. I don't know how depleted it is and what that player is, but to your point, I'll take Tank Dell as it is anyway. So.
Well, even if it's depleted, right? Every now and then the 101 becomes like, oh yeah, that was like the 106 in a normal draft.
Well, that's where the depleted ones, actually, like the top 3 picks are again very important because you get guys that weren't drafted in some of these other drafts. All right. Let's see what we got. Oh, we got some good questions here. Or actually, let me rephrase. We have some good conversation here. Everyone's just kind of chatting. Here we go. Eggplants. Guess who's back, Mike? Guess who's back?
T. Williams.
Back again. Big strategy question. Full PPR. Pollard, JT, Waddle, Puka, or Bijan. Pick one. Also, do I start McBride over Laporta when I already have Gibbs and Amon around my lineup?
So this is a start-sit question. I would hope so.
I think you got 2 different questions. So the second one is do you play McBride over Laporta if you have that much exposure to the Lions offense? This first one is, I don't know if this is start-sit or if this is if it's a dynasty question, I can tell you who we want. If it's a start-sit, I think it's a lot different. So let's just say we're doing start-sit for both, Mike. What do you got?
How did all 3 Lions do last week?
Pretty good.
They're all, top 5 at the position?
Yeah, they were.
I don't give a fuck. Start them all. Just in a vacuum, I would start McBride over Laporta.
So
it's
I'll
close,
say that.
But
yeah, I'll say this.
I guess if it made you feel better, I guess you could start McBride.
Yeah, as you get into the Final Four, right? I think you have to kind of be careful because this is where you could probably outthink yourself, right? You outsmarted yourself. The reality is that when you play those 3 guys, to Mike, to your point, they all just came off really good weeks. Now, I'm not saying they can't, but if you look over the course of the year, it's not every week they're all having great weeks. So you probably have a safer floor having them all out there because it's unlikely they all bust. But you also probably do lower your ceiling a little bit. So if you're going up against some juggernaut, if you're telling me you're a 4 seed and you're trying to dethrone somebody that's the absolute goon squad and you want to shoot for upside here, fine, but just realize you're going to sit a guy that just had one of the best weeks a tight ends had all year. That's kind of to the point of the discussion, right? Too much exposure to one team. I can get behind it to an extent, but I don't want to get cute and sit Laporta when the game's on the line, right? I don't want to do that.
And then I got to choose who to start between Pollard, JT, Waddle, Puka, or Bijan. Probably Puka, then Bijan for me. Bijan's probably the bigger upside play than Puka. Puka's been solid. Nice floor play. Waddle, I don't really want to play him if Tyreek's back. JT, it's a smash spot if JT plays, but he's fresh off an injury. I don't know if I'd rather risk it. I'd probably rather play Bijan than I would play JT. Pollard, fuck no. I'm good. Pass. Puka or Bijan for me.
Full PPR, I'm going to play Puka here because, now to your point, Mike, I think that we've seen Bijan's upside probably be...
Speaking of warp, too, Eric and I found out today, the last 5 weeks, Matt Stafford's been fucking cooking.
Yes, he has been. And to that point you just said, right? Now, I think Bijan, to your point about even in full PPR, has immense upside. He does. I also, right now, this is going to sound crazy. The way this team's trending, the way their quarterback situation is, this is kind of one of those where I will play Bijan. There's certain teams you got no choice probably. But Puka, the thing about Puka is he actually has a pretty stable floor in a full PPR league, right? And he also has upside. Mike, it was Cooper Kupp last week. But we have seen, since Cooper Kupp's been back, that Puka can be the guy. So I still view Puka at least close to all these guys in upside. So I'm going to play him personally.
But if you don't believe us to, America's Game drops at midnight. Go check it out. Eric and I literally went through every single fucking game this week and talked about every fantasy relevant player that you should know.
I know you're talking to the audience because I've been on America's Game. I've listened to all of them, I have zero doubts. I'm
talking to T. Williams. So if you want Eric's opinion too, right, you can get all 4 here on who we would play. but we talked to everyone, every matchup, every fantasy relevant player. Unfortunately for Eric, I spent a lot of the time dunking on Gabe Davis and just pointing out the fact that, yeah, I'd play that receiver over Gabe Davis because Gabe sucks.
Yeah, imagine Mike getting fixated on something in a show and,
What?
No. I'm nervous about Goff getting his face blitzed off by Flores and the Vikings.
It's fair. Flores blitzes a fuck ton, and Goff sometimes does not do very well with pressure.
Well, what's one thing that Goff can't do?
Run.
Yeah, you almost said it in the perfect run. Man, we got to make a short like that, right?
But
like Jared Goff scrambling.
The Vikings defense has played well as of late, but too, I'm hashtag never forget the fact that they were a fucking, swinging gate early in the season, and occasionally still have those moments. So, I'm firing up the Lions offense with confidence. I'm not overthinking this. I got Gibbs. I'm playing him.
They are
Goff. I'm playing him.
Now, to your point about Laporta, Amon-Ra, and Gibbs, I think it's just. It's kind of like almost to me, it's a little bit criminal activity to sit any of those guys. With Goff, he's very much feast or famine. The offense kind of has been feast or famine, but right. I'm not tripping about Goff this week. I'll put it like that. I think I can understand why you're a little worried, but I'm not going to sit him because a bunch of turds had good weeks last week. Like I don't overthink it with Jared Goff, I guess is what I'm trying to say. RB staying all 4 years in college makes sense because the NFL market, yes. And that's Matt, this is exactly a good point, right? Running backs coming out, well, we are Gibbs or Bijan. You're going to get top 20 first-round draft capital, let's just say. That's great. That's as good as it gets for running backs now. Mike, guess what? Look at some of these running backs that got second and third-round draft capital for this season. What their playing time is, what their contract situation is, where their NFL career is going. Why not go back and make more in college for another year?
You don't think Kendrick Miller would rather be staying at TCU, making a fuck ton of NIL money?
I mean, in TCU, although they're probably not like the highest boosters, you think it's Mike? You just talked about
they find a mill laying around. Somewhere.
You talk about 25 with Marv. Listen, they can get you what you're gonna make and some, a little kicked in extra, even at a Christian school, right? Super chat. Uncle Rico.
Thanks, Uncle Rico.
Appreciate you, man. Love to hear your take. Tua and Goff, same player? Question mark.
I think Tua is much better than Goff, but people get mad when I hype up Tua.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's because he's so easy to make fun of. He's like such a nice guy. I don't know if you watch the in-season Hard Knocks too. I
didn't see all of it. I saw pieces of it, yes. You talking about when he's in the at the film room?
Yeah, he's just like such a golly gee shucks,
Yeah.
Kind of seems naive as fuck.
I mean, dude, he was raised to be a football player and didn't leave that island. It's a pretty cool story. I like Tua.
He's also thick as shit, man.
Yeah, he is. Built.
I didn't realize he's that thick, man. That boy put on some weight this offseason. But I don't know. I like Tua. All his advanced metrics are so much better. I know he gets shit on, and we look at last week and we go, damn, he didn't do anything. He hurt my fantasy team. He didn't have Tyreek. He looked like ass. He was actually extremely efficient. They just blew the fucking doors off the Jets, and Zach Wilson got concussed early. Trevor Siemian was terrible, and Breece Hall couldn't do a damn thing on the ground, so the Jets were never a threat, so Tua didn't have to do anything. But people get mad when I talk good about him. But I think Tua is a much better quarterback long-term than Jared Goff. Not that Goff is bad by any stretch of the imagination. I'd rather have Jared Goff than a Derek Carr quarterback in my franchise for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I'm not quite as decisive on it as you, frankly. Mike, you and I both are big, I guess, relative to community or what the majority of people feel like or where they're at with Tua. I always end up feeling like I'm a defender of Tua all the time. Man, you guys are dunking on Tua. Yeah, the guy is terrible and he's only good because he's got guys running really fast. He's also great for those guys because he puts it right on the money. I like a lot of his metrics, Mike, and this season – with the team he's got is going to be a pretty good one for him when you look back. But here's what I will say about Jared Goff. Although he his story is very, very bizarre when you think about how he came along and then what took place, right? Like, this is a guy that started slow. I mean, the Jeff Fisher thing early in his career, right? I mean, that was just a complete disaster. Like, but then for 2 years, earns himself a contract. I mean, he's playing at that time as good as a quarterback played in the NFL for at least, a good season and some. Then all of a sudden, get to the Super Bowl, and there was the hoodie experience, and McVay's all freaked out. They go get Stafford. They send him to the Lions kind of to die, it feels like. They just wanted to get rid of the money. He's done a pretty good job, I think, resurrecting his career a little bit, given like what transpired. I think Goff right now, when you look at that, though, it's easy to look at what he is now. I saw him play for a while very, very, very good football in the National Football League. It was only for a short while, and you could say it was the players around him. You could say it was the system, but they're saying the same thing about Tua. I think that Tua right now has upside to have a much better career than Goff has had to this point because of the lull and the trade and all that. But I still think Tua has to do some things to get there. So I think Tua's on the path to probably go ahead of Goff as a quarterback. Same player, though? Not really to me. No, they're not the same player. No.
It just feels to me, especially Detroit has a very good offense, but like even Tua's bad weeks for people, like real bad weeks are still fantasy productive, right? Like he always kind of feels like he's just on that back end of QB2.
Yeah.
Jared Goff's bad weeks always feel like he's QB3 territory. And, that's only 25 to 32 on a given week, depending on teams. So.
Yeah, right now, I think, if you're asking me who I want in Fantasy Weekly, who I want in Dynasty, it's obviously Tua. But I just think about where Tua's at and where he's going, and I think he still has to get past what Goff was. Now, Goff took a big downturn, and to your point, he doesn't have the floor at all that he ever did.
For what it's worth, I do love using this new PFF subscription that I have. Awesome.
I know you do. What do you got? What do you got for it?
Love the college stats. For passing on the year, Tua's the number 4 overall rated passer.
PFF grade? Got it. Nice.
Yep. Jared Goff is 11th.
And the one thing I can tell you is Tua is a very accurate thrower of the football and doesn't make a ton of bad decisions. So
except in that Jets game.
Now,
back to back, it felt like
there's a reason I say ton because
not this last Jets game, the one before.
Yeah. So. The reason I say a ton of bad decisions because, like I've seen every quarterback, the greatest of all time, make bad decisions. But by and large, Tua does not make. Yes.
Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts are like 1 and 2 in the league.
They're known for making bad decisions and like pushing the ball aggressively.
Not Hurts, but this year.
Well, I'm sorry, this year, yes, and in. Earlier,
Josh Allen has always been known to turn the fuck.
Josh Allen has been known as the guy that either makes a hero type play or a zero type play, trying to thread the needle somewhere it probably shouldn't go. So, anyway, I don't. You'd love to hear our take. Let me know what you thought of that for the super chat. I don't know if that was what you're looking at, like what you wanted to hear from us.
We gave it all.
Put my
heart into it.
Keon Coleman is probably top guy available. Sorry. This has to be a second part question. I just saw that and was excited. Don't ban me. I've been here since the beginning. I'm the guy that asked if Nas was the best lyricist ever.
I think he was talking about the he traded for his 101 heavily depleted. Not bad.
That's phenomenal.
That's 2 point. Trip Crown tried to blaspheme earlier in the show when he said that
That's phenomenal. That's a first round pick, Keon Coleman.
No. He tried to blast me. Keon Coleman was this part, but he tried to blast me from 2 years ago. When he said that I had Treylon Burks as wide receiver 1, which is false because I was on the Drake London train before just about anybody else as wide receiver 1. Thank you for me being correct. And then he tried to say last year I had QJ as my wide receiver 1, which is also false because JSN was my wide receiver 1. I did have QJ above Jordan Addison, though, so we'll be honest about that. So he tried to pass Keon Coleman off as a bad thing. So Trip Crown, just zip it. Okay? It's false. It's erroneous. Erroneous on all counts.
You bite your tongue. Chaz Reinhold's a legend.
He's a legend.
Not a kook.
Told me stick to tight ends.
We gotta
What are you talking about?
look at this, man. He's back. 12-team start 11 lineup league. Superflex 6-point. Look at this. Super chat in 12-team, Mike. What? Right?
Yeah.
6-point passing touchdown. PPR league. Tier down. Tua for Goff plus Evans. The setup question.
If I'm competing right now, yeah.
There's a way to get Mike to be really big on Goff. I know how to do it.
The tear down.
You get the crown going, buddy. You get that tear down king thing going.
Yeah,
And
I would do this
you get Mike
if I'm
Evans.
competing.
Like Mike Evans is one of those pieces, Mike, in a tear down that if I'm getting him as the plus, I'm pretty interested. I'd go get the creamsicle jersey for this.
I'm not saying Eric's wrong. Okay, not saying Eric's wrong, but he did raise some concerns when we talked about Goff this week. Like he didn't seem too excited about Jared Goff, and he also didn't seem too excited about Baker Mayfield's prospects, against Jacksonville's defense, which to me, I think they're missing both of their corners, right? Tyson Campbell hasn't played in fucking forever, and he's by far, though, no way the best. I'm firing up all my Baker and Godwin and Evans that I can this. So if I'm competing, like, fuck, for me, Goff and Evans, easily. Like, I will take this. I will tear down from Tua to Goff and Evans.
Yeah. Well, I think here's the reality in short windows, okay? Especially this season. Like, I know Tyreek's going to be back on the field, but, like, what has Tua really kind of not been the last several weeks? I know we defend him. I am not trying to besmirch the name. Yes. Like, it's not like Tua's guaranteed to go out there and hammer me home a win. Goff has I think, every chance weekly to beat Tua. Why in lineup start 11 am I not – there's no way in lineup start 11 you can't start Evans and feel really good about it. So this is too easy for me.
The only thing, like, I have, like, if the Dolphins are going to get up, the Dolphins and Cowboys both have struggled this year against 500 teams or better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fizzle isn't here, so I can talk all the shit I want about the Cowboys. But they both have struggled. Cowboys definitely have struggled on the road. Their loss at Arizona, right? They just got their ass whooped at Buffalo. Now they travel down to Miami. This game has the biggest over-under of all the games. Like, Vegas says this is going to be the highest scoring game there is. When we think of the Cowboys and the Dolphins the last couple of weeks have played really good defense. Cowboys just got gaped, on national TV, which was kind of fun to watch for me as an Eagles fan. But Tyreek back with Tua, like, if you're just banking on Week 16, the thing that makes this for me is Evans. Like, I think Evans is almost locked in as a wide receiver 1 this week, which is why I would do it. I would trade potentially Tua on a boom because I have Tua as a QB1 for this week, Adam. I would trade, though, that QB1, if I think he's probably in that, like, 7-8 range, give or take, for Goff, who I think is probably going to be in that 14-15 range. But give me the wide receiver 1, which wide receiver 1s have outperformed quarterbacks in WARP in almost every single league universally.
I mean,
like, just for 1 week, yes. Like, for the semis, sign me up.
All right, so I think sometimes because the way timing happens, it's easy to kind of overlook stuff. So, for example, Mike, we have this thing called the Warp Tool. Everybody shout out. It's Warp Tool, right? It's Koopa built it. SouthHarmonFF.com/warp. Mike, I pulled up just a handful of leagues, and for the entire season, let me rephrase, not the majority, the entire season, you're getting the better warp quarterback, and you're getting a hammer receiver.
Yeah.
This is a trade I don't even like. This is literally not even a discussion for me. Rico, we appreciate the super chats. You can ask him anytime. But this one here, the good news is this is found money for you. Like that whatever, that $7 ain't gonna mean nothing because this is free fucking money, man. Like you don't. These type of trades are rare to ever come around, especially when this would be a trade that I would see and have a hard time, to your point, if Tua was coming off of 3 boom weeks, right? Like, oh man, do I really do this? Right now, Tua's not playing that well. This is like gift from God. Merry Christmas, man. Good for you. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my opinion. All right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on trading Andrews for Kelce if competing? Why? Yes. Done.
Yes. Go for it, B-Dags. 100%. Whoever's traded away Kelce's an idiot.
I mean, it's funny, I think, how, Travis Kelce's probably been like, people are like, you got to pry for my cold dead hands, and all of a sudden this Taylor Swift thing, people are letting that Travis Kelce go pretty quick, huh?
And if you want to feel real good about it, make the deal, hit accept, right? Join the $5 tier of the Patreon, post it in the trade show, and then I promise next week Adam and I will dog the shit out of whatever dipshit made this trade.
Mike, can I tell you, like,
it's a double win.
B-Dags, this is a trade. Oh my gosh, we talked in the beginning of the show. I'm wearing the Pitts jersey. Legend, like the tight end position as a whole is one I'm like almost in universal formats not caring about anymore. And I have been on the wrong end of this for a while. To let everyone know, okay, this is not someone that's never liked tight ends. I can't tell you when Mike and I first started, our own little podcast that no one listened to, how many times I asked him about trading and getting one of these stud tight ends that didn't fucking mean anything in that league, right? Half-point tight end premium for what?
Here's a great thing too.
I have a contending team, Mike, that is there's a trade deadline, and I could not get rid of Andrews, and it's like the most infuriating thing to me is that he's on my roster in best ball. It just drives me crazy every week, right? Like gosh,
you stare at that IR 0.
I hate it so much because you can't get rid of it. Like you're stuck with it now.
I got excited today. I finally got off of Deshaun Watson on a semis team, right?
Ooh, that's a late pull that's unlikely. Good for you.
Right. Like, finally did it. Like, whew, feels so much better, too. I don't have to stare at that fucking 0.
Yeah, but anyway, B-Dags, yes. You have my...
Go for it.
Give them my condolences.
All right, give me 2 more questions, and then I have to pee.
I was going to say, you seem like you're ready to go. You got to pee, huh? All right.
Yeah.
All right, eggplants are always there's one question after this, so let that be known. 16 team, Mike. All right. We're going to get all the leagues that Mike is not in. 16 team. Superflex. By the way, I'm not in 16 team either. 1.75 tight end premium. Start 8 lineup. Tua, Watson, and backup quarterbacks. Okay. 16 teams, just having 2 starters, even though Watson's gross like that is solid. Bijan, Gibbs, Kenneth Walker, ETN. A.J. Brown, Garrett, Pittman, Ridley, Andrews, Higbee. No 24 first. Offseason moves. This is interesting. Mike, a 16-team start 8. Right? Like, 16 team, my pitch is just going to be just fucking down tier till you die. I still believe that in this format, but start 8 makes it like you don't want to go too far down.
So what are you at? You're at a quarterback in a super flex, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end.
Yeah.
No flex.
So you'd be 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and then probably either 3 receivers in a flex or 2 receivers in the flex, right?
A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Pittman, Ridley. I don't think I touch my wide receivers. Andrews is fine. I think I use whatever I can out of Bijan, Gibbs, Kenneth Walker, ETN, pair him with a Tua or a Watson in a 16 team. And, we just talked about it as a down year for a quarterback, but I'm ready to try to go back to the well. And if it took me, let's say, a Kenneth Walker and an ETN and a Watson to get to a Hurts or an Allen or a Lamar or one of those kind, I think I'd do that. Like, it's an overpay, but I do it.
Yeah.
And then I just backfilled the other running back spots with fucking dudes. Just
now,
you got a pulse. If I need to start you, I got to start you.
Steve Carell, to Mike's point, I would say that's not even a discussion. Like, if you can get that done in a heartbeat. Now, I haven't ever played in a 16 team. I played in 14 teams. I played in the 28 man, the 2 copy, right? And I've just seen how hard it is to buy there, like the quarterbacks that matter. So if you can get that done in any capacity, that's a smash. Go get that quarterback 2 upgraded. Here's what I would say though, if that ends up not being a realistic option, or if it's just way too expensive, right? Mike's point about the running back room, what's really interesting is because you have 4 of them that are like really good dynasty values and all still young enough for now, with not a great running back class coming in, is I think this is probably a scenario in a 16-team league you can end up moving some of this at the right time. And when I see the running backs there, but the big thing to me is probably Garrett Wilson in a league like this is one of your only real guys that I can see that has someone might pay like they're getting a stud and give you a market of actually increasing your depth. Because unless Garrett Wilson, I love him, man. I do. But next year is not guaranteed to mean that much in this format. And like right now, I wouldn't be shocked if Pittman outscores him next year. Right? So, and I think you can find a way to get something like that done in a tier down in this league.
Like a Garrett Wilson and a Kenneth Walker for a Chase or a Jefferson.
Done. Yeah, or CeeDee Lamb. I'd do it for that too.
I think where it gets too much for me in a 16 team, where I also kind of still want to have depth and I don't want to be giving away too much and just like gifting people good running backs who are probably warp advantages, because think about it, in a 16 team league, some people are starting dog shit at running back, like just anybody, and it's only a start 8. Like if it was Garrett Wilson and a Gibbs or Garrett Wilson and a Bijan, I'm passing. Like, no thank you. But ETN, Kenneth Walker, I think I'd do that too. Wide receiver position, using him with his dynasty value to go to absolute elite. Yes.
Yeah, because I think with Garrett Wilson, you have an opportunity to either package 2. Like to me, Amon-Ra is probably one of the teams I would be looking at. Like, what's their team look like? Amon-Ra doesn't have that market that gives you the cost of Chase. I think that's probably a great target. And then I'm Mike, honestly, if that's not there, I think another thing to consider, as much as I do want to tier up in this league, I think I'd be perfectly fine adding some more depth, even in the start 8 league with 16 teams, if I can tier down from Garrett Wilson and get. Let's play the other side of it real quick. Now, I know Mike's got to piss, so we got to hurry this up. Mike, what would you down tier to Garrett Wilson? Like to go get? Like what wide receivers in this format are still of interest to you? Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah.
What about, like, because after that you start getting to the, what about Deebo Samuel? What about DJ Moore?
People hate T. Higgins. I would do the T. Higgins on a down tier.
If you can get a legit player back or a legit pick back, yeah, I think that's a great call. And T. Higgins, we'll see what happens, but it seems like he's probably going to be playing somewhere else eventually, which I think could be a good thing.
Deebo would be fine, but like it's so sketchy because of his injury history, and he's going to be another year older in 24 when this guy is trying to compete. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Let me give you
now would be a smash. But
let me give you one to sit on and just ponder this, okay? Now you can decide how crusty or how much you want to play this game, but I'm telling you, in this offseason, one of the most exploitable things last year, and I think with a guy like Garrett Wilson, you could still do it this year. Like you don't have to go to Cooper Kupp, who's going to be 31, going almost into 32 year, right? But, Mike, we talked about this all the time, how these aging guys, we'll see what happens with Tyreek Hill. Maybe for him it's not as viable because he's breaking the world. But, like Stephon Diggs, man, like what can you get back with Stephon Diggs when people are freaking out about him, right? Like those are some things I would consider exploring in a league like this too.
Yeah, not the worst thing. Rashee Rice is a very interesting one for me, where you could get a sizable plus from Garrett Wilson to Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking absolutely head over heels in love with Rashee Rice. I have been for weeks, and every single week it just seems like he just keeps proving me right on him. Like, I understand that maybe they address the situation in the offseason, right? I get it. It's already kind of baked in to his dynasty value. What happens if they don't?
Right? All right, Mike's got to piss. Let me go ahead and get a little sounder on here. T. Williams hits us with a personal question to get out of here, Mike. I know you guys dog me about my one quarterback leagues. Yes, we do. That's not a question. But I play in free leagues because I don't gamble. Just trust me. Okay. How do I get people to respond to offers in free leagues? Can I give you the personal answer? Like, this is nothing personal against you, but what's their incentive? Like, part of the problem for me is, I enjoy winning the money and playing for the money, but I just think if I was in a free league, that would be one I have a hard time paying attention to, because what's my incentive to keep going back there, right? Like, that's part of the problem, I think, with free leagues too. So I wish I had a better answer for you, man. I really do.
We couldn't even get you to pay attention to South Harmon versus the Executives. And there's a one-chip challenge on the line, buddy. Like, there's an ass burn on the line.
Now, I respect the hell out of, though, if you saying, just trust me on not gambling. Hey, do your thing. I hope you can find enjoyment out of those, though, personally, for you. Mike, I'm out here lying. We got a super chat, buddy, so you're going to have to hold that thing, buddy. I got bad news and good news.
Hold it.
All right. Hold out strong. We'll switch up the beat here for you, all right? Fizzle style. Trade was Bowers for my own 101 Keon Coleman. Debbie 4th round, no roster spot, and Tank Dell was a throw-in at the time. It's a 1 tight end, 9 tight end premium. Sell Bowers if you can get it. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate the super chat to kind of highlight what we were talking about. Brian, as always, much love. Steve Carell, Uncle Rico, everybody here. Dr. B. Harris. Listen, I see,
Thank you, Brian.
Halfway through the 600 Mike drive across Texas. Finally have service. What up, y'all? Dr. B. Harris. Love you guys. Love everybody here. Robert Holland.
Verb now.
Yeah, man. Verb.
600 mics.
Let's go. AMA, man. I never, ever. These never get old. I could get puked on. I could be sick. Like, this is just.
Best night of the week.
I love it, man. But
Best night.
Mike's got to piss. It's getting late. But we will see you back here. Same time, same place next week. Also, make sure you're tapping in. We got Christmas this weekend, but Christmas Eve. We got our Sunday recap. We got fantasy lives on the line. We'll see you back here for AMA next Wednesday. We're out of this thing. Peace.